Hey everybody, Ben here. Don't forget to register for Snow Camp. We are going to have an amazing time at Fort Wilderness. Registration is due next week. Sign up, all right? Hey, tonight we're launching a 3-week series on relationships. We were created for relationships with each other. This is a gift from God. And hearing God's wisdom on relationships will enhance that gift that He's giving us. It'll help us lead us toward a healthier life where we can thrive. And tonight, we're talking about friendship. Now, last year in the Wanakee home groups, they had an event, Wanakee United, where the boys and girls groups got together and they had a friendship debate. So like one team had the position that following Jesus means choosing our friends carefully. And they had Bible passages like this one from Proverbs. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Or this one from 1 Corinthians. Don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Now, the other team took a different position. Theirs was that following Jesus well means pursuing friendships recklessly. And so they had the example of Jesus on their side, like in Mark chapter 2, when he is hanging out with sinners and tax collectors, and all the religious leaders are asking them, why does Jesus eat with those people? And Jesus says, I haven't come to call the righteous, but sinners. So those groups, they had an awesome conversation last week. I heard some of your groups were planning a similar activity for tonight. I hope it is awesome. The Bible has wisdom for us that helps us in relationships, friendships. But friendship is complicated, right? The Bible's wisdom sometimes comes at things from different angles, and it's hard to know how to live out that wisdom in different circumstances. So I could sit here and share with you my own personal experiences, but I was in middle school like 25 years ago. So the world has changed a little bit in 25 years. My wisdom might not be super helpful. So today I brought in 3 friends whose input might be a bit more helpful. These 3 are juniors in high school, so pretty much the wisest and coolest people that planet Earth has to offer. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Sophia. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Jonathan.
Awesome. And how long have the 3 of you been friends?
So Jonathan and I have been friends since 6th grade.
We met in a home group, actually.
Okay, met through home groups, yeah.
We've been friends since 7th grade. And then I met Jonathan freshman year.
Okay, when you guys started going to the same school.
Yeah.
Right. You guys went to middle school together, met in 7th grade. Awesome. Okay, now, what's the difference between friendship in high school versus middle school?
Well, with my experience, and I think Charlotte a little bit too, we've been in the Middleton system for all of schooling, and so there's a lot of kids, and so especially in middle school, our friend groups were like very large friend groups, and then in high school, I think, especially for me, I've found people that I really just like click with better, and it's kind of gotten smaller, and it's not like a bad thing. It's not like I like lost friends, but it's just I have like closer friendships with people. Yeah.
Actually, in high school, I think my friend groups got larger actually, and it's been interesting because in middle school I had maybe like 2 or 3 like very close friends, but in high school I have maybe still those 2 or 3, maybe 3 to 4 really close friends, but then there's a larger group of acquaintances. Yeah. But you're kind of less friendly with the acquaintances.
What does it look like when friendships are in tension, and like, just talk a little bit about that.
I feel like the experiences with like tension in a friendship that I've had, a lot of them are just like miscommunication with people. Like sometimes it's kind of like, oh, well, so-and-so said this about you, and then like maybe you'll be kind of like mad for a day. And then you'll go and talk to them and realize like what you heard was completely not true, or like you'll just talk it out and realize that it wasn't important at all. Like it was just kind of like a mishap or like a miscommunication. So I feel like that's a lot of the tension I've had. I've never had any like big like crazy fights with people.
Okay, you haven't punched anybody in the hall?
No, not yet.
All right, not yet. There you go. Okay, so what are maybe some, along those lines, some mistakes that that you've made in friendship?
I know that for me, sometimes I'll have a tendency to take my friends for granted, and like really not really just appreciate like how valuable their friendship is.
Sure.
And sometimes maybe you'll try to be friends with some people who you think are cooler or have maybe like a higher status, which in the scheme of life is really not so important because it's high school. It's like it's a closed community that you'll be leaving in 4 years.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to appreciate the friends that you have, regardless of what others might say that their status is, or that you may think like subconsciously what their status is. It's really crucial to appreciate the people who are kind to you and to be kind to them.
Yeah, wow, choosing friendship not based on status. What are other mistakes maybe?
I think going off of that, so like I said, I had like a large friend group in middle school, and it kind of, I mean, the other thing that happens is in high school, you just don't have classes with people, and you'll go around the whole year and just not see someone that you used to see every day. And so I think a mistake I have made is just not like reaching out to those people, and like a lot of times I would be like, oh, I want to send a text to this person, but I don't know, I haven't seen him in a while, it might be kind of weird. But I think you really should. Like I just went out to lunch with my friend that I hadn't seen since 8th grade, I think the other day, and it was really good to connect with her again. So I think just not hesitating to reach out to people even if you haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah. And then I think just like also I've like tried to impress people before because I feel like, oh, maybe they're like a little bit like higher up in the food chain than me. Like I think of them as like cool. And at the end of the day, like if you feel like you have to try to impress someone just to be friends with them, it's probably not the type of person you want to be friends with.
How have your friendships changed through the years, and what does that look like when a friendship kind of changes?
Well, I think something we were talking about earlier is some of our friends this year have gotten more into, because it's high school, more into like partying or drinking or drugs and stuff, and like I personally don't really agree with that.
Sure.
And so I think that's been a big thing, like in high school especially, like a lot of kids wanting to do certain things to seem cool. And so that changes friendships a lot, because it's not like I've lost friends because of that, or like I don't hang out with them or I'm not nice to them, but it's definitely like changed the dynamic a little bit with who I choose to be involved with.
Yeah, and I used to also think like, oh, like that's not going to be a thing in high school. Like that's just what people tell you. But
Or
like,
oh, that doesn't really happen junior year.
no, but like
it actually does.
I mean, it does.
This
and
is the year for you guys when that's
it's really
and it's just a matter of like if you're willing to like just go with the flow and do what everyone else is doing, or if you're like staying true to like what you agree in.
It's important to have friends who I think, and this isn't something you can necessarily know, but I think for me, I've been blessed with friends who, with people who I've been friends with before this year, who are not choosing to do that thing, so I haven't really had to adjust my friend group really that much. Like obviously I know people that make choices that I don't support, and I'm friendly with them. I have classes with some of them, but my core group of friends is strong and not indulging in things that I disagree with.
I love how you guys have talked about that you can continue to have some kind of a friendship, you know, eat at the same lunch table, that kind of thing. You don't have to, you know, shun people entirely for making choices that you don't want to make on Friday nights, kind of thing. That's cool. So I guess in a similar vein, how does following Jesus affect the way that you choose to be a friend?
Yeah, well, I think it definitely affects it a lot. I've been going to home groups since 6th grade, and so a lot of the stuff we learn about is obviously like following in God's footsteps and listening to the teachings of Jesus, how to be kind and nice to everyone. And I think I really take that into consideration every day when I'm talking with my friends and choosing how to react to certain things. I just kind of think like what would Jesus do? Like what would he want me to do or say?
And Sophia, you told a story about a way that one of these, the Bible stories that I read at the beginning about Jesus eating meal with sinners and tax collectors, the idea of being a positive influence for your friends. You told a story about how that played out for you once.
Yeah, so I think, like we were saying before, some friends are making different decisions this year that we just like don't really agree with, and I think an important thing to do is not be afraid to sit down and talk to them and talk about like why it may not be the best decision, why you don't agree with it, and like just kind of not being too critical, but like kind of understanding, because I think that's definitely a thing Jesus taught us, is to just be understanding and not like put any blame on anyone. But that helps to influence them.
Yeah.
It's important to not judge them.
Not
Yeah.
judge.
You don't agree with their decisions.
Yeah.
Still recognize that they're a person and God loves them just as much as He loves anyone else.
Yeah. Amen.
And someone's decisions for one period of their life don't define who they are.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And your choice to not doing those things don't define who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also feel like something that Sophie and I have talked about before with like some of our friends who's like, I don't know, like what they're interested in is like changing. We've talked about too, like, well, you know what, maybe someday like they'll kind of come back to us and like maybe this is just like something they're going through right now, like
Phase or
a
something.
phase, and not like totally cutting off a person just because of one thing they did, I think is important.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do you have any parting words of wisdom? This has been super helpful. For if you were talking to your middle school self, what's something you would want to hear right now?
I think one big piece of advice is just to not get down on yourself with friendships.
Okay.
Everyone goes through it. Yeah. Everyone has problems and like has to sort things out with their friends, but just like don't feel any pressure to hang out with certain people because you think it's cool or you've been friends with them since you were little. I hear that all the time. People are like, oh, I've been friends with them since I was born, but that doesn't really make it okay if they're influencing you in a bad way, but just kind of be close with those who are good to you and who you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would tell myself not to care about status so much because I was one of those kids that was like, oh, well, this person isn't cool, like this isn't cool, like I can't do that. But I mean, at the end of the day, like it does not matter at all.
Doesn't matter.
And now that I've like let go of that, like I've found so many great friends and everything, and I just wish that I could go back and like tell myself to calm down about like all of that and just live my life.
I think I'd tell my middle school self that a good friend is someone that you can just like hang out with and not have to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think that you should attempt to be a friend that people can just hang out with. So I think a good friendship is someone that you can do exciting things with, and that you will do exciting things with, but also someone that you can just it's like go get lunch with and just talk to.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing your wisdom, your experience, some of your mistakes as well, and we deeply appreciate it. Hope that you all now are able to have some great conversations in your 4-to-1 groups. Thanks.
Yeah.